My name is Mandy Reinig, and I am the Education Abroad Advisor at Penn State Altoona. The Education Abroad program at Penn State Altoona consists of over 180 programs to over 60 countries. This means that students can study abroad for 1 week to 1 year in locations that consist of Latin America, Asia, Western Europe, and even Australia. When I came to Penn State Altoona in 2005, we had officially had 1 student studying abroad. Last year, we jumped that number up to 70 students. In 2010, we'll officially have 7 faculty-led programs, which will contribute to having over 100 students studying abroad.
Study abroad has become particularly relevant in today's world because we live in a truly increasingly global society, one in which our students must be prepared to be interconnected across cultures, geographies, nations, peoples. And at Penn State Altoona, we're dedicated to preparing them for this world.
I think the Penn State Altoona Study Abroad program is very crucial for our students, principally because it makes them a community of scholars who have had the chance to travel outside this country. They interact with people from different parts of the world. So when we are talking about globalization, the programs for our students here make it possible for them to leave the comfort of their homes in order to be able to later in their lives work with people who come from different cultural, linguistic backgrounds. So I think overall what it does is to prepare our students in order to be much more sophisticated as global citizens.
I think study abroad can affect students' lives by simply making them more curious, more aware of opportunities out there, and more willing to seek the opportunities that they may be given. And that doesn't mean that they just keep going abroad and abroad and abroad. I mean, that's great if they travel more. But just there is an increased confidence that can be gained by going abroad. And even if you go for a short time period, you have to figure out how to do certain things in that different country.
Study abroad has changed my life because it's given me a bigger perspective. It's given me a global perspective as opposed to a national perspective. I realize now that there's other people in the world that our nation's activities affect.
Probably the biggest impact studying abroad has had on me, regardless of where I've gone or who I've met while I've been there, is the fact that I can use this in my future more than anything. Especially as an educator. When I went to Spain, for example, I was teaching. I had an internship for 4 months in a secondary school, and they had the capability to network with other schools and talk to people from around the world. And I tried to create discussion forums with these students, and I realized how important global citizenship is.
The first step I took when considering studying abroad was looking at my finances, how much I had to work with, how much the program was going to cost, and I went to Penn State Altoona's Study Abroad office to see what financial aid I could get.
My biggest adjustment when visiting Quebec was learning how people interact with each other, how they greet each other, how they just speak to each other, what's polite in conversation and what isn't. It's just a lot different than in the United States.
The biggest adjustment for me when I studied abroad was dealing with homesickness, which I did not expect, and I think that's why it was the most difficult part, because I have lived abroad. So living abroad with your family and living abroad by yourself with people you don't know in a country where you don't know the language is far different.
The first steps I took in order to study abroad were looking into the programs available and figuring out how they fit into my degree and fit in with my interests. And after that, I started looking at the costs and requirements, and then I talked to Mandy and found all the funding opportunities that Penn State Altoona offers. And I'm still amazed at how much monetary support I've gotten through Penn State Altoona, and that they really try to make study abroad available to everyone.
For our students, study abroad presents a considerable financial challenge in most cases. And for benefactors, helping our students to have these experiences, particularly given the challenges economically, culturally today, the rewards can be tremendous. You're helping a student have experiences that, quite frankly, they'll never forget. And when they come back to our community, when they come back to our region, our service area, they're going to be able to share their learning and share this globalization with others. And hopefully that'll bring the kind of economic and cultural impact we'd like to see in our area for years to come.
If you're thinking about studying abroad, here are a few steps to follow. First, research your program options. You can go to the Education Abroad office on campus, or you can go to this website. After doing that, you want to talk to your academic advisor, let him or her know your plans for the future. Also, speak to the Education Abroad advisor, Mandy Reinig, on campus. You should also let your parents know where you are considering going for maybe a semester or a year, and then you can start applying, start filling out your application, and finally submit it. Next, you're going to want to consider your funding options. You can do this by visiting this website or going to the Education Abroad office on campus and visiting Mandy Reinig and contacting the financial aid office. You're also going to want to consider getting your passport. Now, this takes a long time, actually 6 to 8 weeks, so applying earlier is better. Finally, after you've been accepted to your program, you need to research your destination, book your flights, get a visa if your program requires it, and check with your academic advisor to see if your courses that you will take are accepted by Penn State. After that, it's time to pack your bags and go.
Studying abroad has definitely changed my life in so many ways. As a political science major, I do seek to understand global issues, but living in America, living in Altoona, just studying at Penn State, I can't get a grasp on global issues that I was exposed to when I lived abroad.
You get to be with students when they go to places that they may have read about and seen a couple pictures of, and then they go to some place like St. Paul's. They look up and they have that aha moment.
If I had the opportunity to study abroad again, I would absolutely take it. It was a great experience for me.
Yes, I've led a group of students abroad. I'll do it again and again and again because it's such a wonderful experience.
My advice to students considering studying abroad is go for it. It's a great learning experience that really impacts the rest of your life.
So here it is. If you're a Penn State Altoona student, I challenge you to participate in the life-altering experience of studying abroad. If you're a potential benefactor, I ask you to consider a gift to support the dreams of our Penn State Altoona students.